if I'm not wrong. On the same loopback device, you will find also 10.10.10.10, another virtual IP address, netmask 32. Netmask 32 is almost illegal, so you cannot do anything. The minimum subnet needs 4 IP address, because actually you need 1 IP address for broadcast, 1 IP address to identify the network, 1 IP address for the source, and 1 IP address for the destination. Okay, so minimum 4. But if you have only 1, it's the maximum level of segmentation. Okay, so now this agent on top of your computer doesn't modify the NIC. Okay, it doesn't work at kernel level. You don't need. It's just a listener on this fake IP address we call synthetic 10.10.10.10, and you can open a port, for example, 443. Now, if your application, your native application, is going to send REST APIs to that server, and that server before this approach was connected through, I don't know, VPN, etc. So actually, when you point 10.10.10.10, you are really pointed to the destination server address, okay? Before with the VPN. But now, when you send something to 10.10.10.10, you're sending something to the loopback device, because 10.10.10.10 is one of the alias IP address on your loopback device. How many alias you may have on a loopback device? Millions. It doesn't cost anything in terms of CPU performance. It's just a label. And then when your curl or your application is sending the TCP packet on 10.10.10.10 port 443, you are not sending packets to the remote. There is no connection between your computer and the remote. You are sending packets to your listener on the loopback device. Then the agent will check the policies, etc., etc. So you can check who is going to send this packet. Is sent by an application that I know. Let me check the signature of the application. Okay, and that's all. When everything is okay, user is okay, application is okay, device is okay, the time is okay, and maybe the place is okay, you say, this TCP packet I can process. I will encrypt, I send to the broker, and the broker sends back to the server. On the server, there is another agent, which is still a client. So actually, on the server, you don't need to open not even one single port, and you don't need to know the server IP address, because it's a client-to-client connectivity. Actually, this packet is starting from your native application. Your native application may think that 10.10.10.10 is the real target. Actually, it's your loopback device. 10.10.10.10 port 443. Your agent will retrieve the packet, check all the policies, so user identity, device identity, etc., etc. Then I process, encrypt, send to the broker, and the broker send back as a reply to the other agent connectivity. On the target server, you may have vulnerabilities on your data set or your database, vulnerabilities on your web application, vulnerabilities on Nginx, vulnerabilities on Tomcat. Who can use this vulnerability? If all ports are closed, and if only your application on the original client side is able to send packets. If on the original application or the original computer there is a malware sending packets because maybe you want to exploit some vulnerability, the agent just will drop the packets. Zero trust, I drop all packets, and I only receive packets for the application that I know. So you may have someone with Telnet, someone with some tools, with a meta-exploit, whatever, any process sending packets to your agent will be dropped, okay? But only your specific application that you know very well is able to send the packet, so the REST API, it will be encrypted, sent to the broker, broker back to the server, and on the server there will be the agent talking to the local host web application. So even your web application has vulnerabilities, you are not going to expose vulnerabilities to nobody, only to your client application. So this is the concept. Then, of course, during the lectures, we will do practice, etc., etc. But actually, it's much simpler than what you may think. No need modification to the kernel, no need modification to the operating system, no need modification to the NIC. It's just an agent. And let me just bring 1 minute more. Normally, when you have a defense agent on the computer, like anti-malware, detection, whatever, if I'm a good hacker, the first thing I want to do is to shut down your detection system, shut down your security agent. Because if you have anti-malware and I shut down the anti-malware, I can pass through. Now, in this change of paradigm, if you have this agent is providing connectivity to a specific destination service, okay? If you shut down the agent, you get isolated, so you don't do anything. The change of paradigm also provides you safety, security, when someone is compromising or is destroying your agent. Because in the traditional way, agent down means I can pass. In the new way, agent down means no connectivity anymore. Okay, so you start really a new process to reinvent the networking, the infrastructure, and the security policies. I don't know if it's enough, but please, just in case, let me know, and I will try to clarify.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think,
Welcome.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Antonio, for the comprehensive explanation. So, Prof, now I'm coming to your question, I guess. So, from Prof Teddy to the both speakers, what is the brief and quick strategy on how to implement effective security measure to shield the mainstream web in industry, private, government, university from online attack, especially online gambling attacks? So maybe from Dr. Antonio or from Dr. Ono, one of you feel free to respond to the questions. Thank you.
Dr. Antonio first.
Please, sure, no problem.
No problem.
Okay, so actually the strategy for cyber resilience, of course, can be used on many sectors, but it's mostly used on private connectivity, on private services. So actually, because you want to know who is going to connect. For public website, it's very complex because from public website, there is not an entity that authorizes this user to be connected or the other user to be connected. So in principle, you are exposing public services to everybody. So if you don't get the control on the source, like with an agent or whatever, of course you cannot use any strategy. But for private services, this is possible. So what you normally do in this scenario is to have a public portal where the user can authenticate and log in the first time. And then once you are authenticated, you download an agent that allows you to create new control on that computer. So when you have this control, this user is part of the cyber resilience infrastructure. But before, you need a portal very simple that you can control very well, the login, etc. So it's just a portal to request, the authorization. Then you need to install something to become part of the private network, because the final service will not be exposed into the internet, so no public IP address, etc. But it will be reachable only if you are part of the cyber resilience strategy, okay? So this is the idea. It's a very good question, because maybe during the lectures, we can prepare a scenario to demonstrate how this works, okay? Thank you very much, Prof. Teddy.
Thank you. Actually, okay, let me, I'll wait for Dr. Ono to respond, and then I'm going to give you a quick response from that. Quickly, by the way, because we're running out of the time also.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Teddy. Thank you very much. This will be quick. Based on the current condition in the Indonesian government situation, Dr. Antonio solution may be one of the best. But the current condition, we are still very limited. Basically, in cybersecurity, we have people, process, and technology. Technology, if we can implement Dr. Antonio solution, that will be great. In process, the BSSN and so on, they create the policy and so on. But I think we are having problem with people. So my personal approach will be more on people, provide education, awareness to the Indonesian cybersecurity engineers. Hopefully they aware, they can adopt, or the programmer can adopt Dr. Antonio approach. That will be great. So I will, my current approach will be more on people. We have Dr. Antonio solution, but my approach in more on people, because we desperately need that. Okay, that will be. Thank you, Professor Teddy.
Can I respond directly, Dr. Desinta?
Yes, Prof.
Yeah. So as everybody knows, in Indonesia nowadays, we have more than 40,000 websites. They are already infected by online gambling, especially in the education sector and also in the government, so everybody knows. What I have in my mind at the moment, Ono and Dr. Antonio, Like in my field before, back to 2011, 2012, there is a competition actually. On a lot of people try to attack certain website, and then we try to protect it in the very simple way. One of the way that we propose, we develop something what we call as the reverse proxy server. So what happened with the reverse proxy server? Basically, we create a dummy server. We put a lot of there to filter every single request with 99% of the rule in the back, in the front there, and then in the back we prepare the DNS server, of course. So when the query come to that server, then they need to bring to our Bogus server first to filter that, and we make sure that every single attacker will be. And why this one simple? Because we only configure a little bit on our DNS server, and the other one is just put it inside of the simple USB. Because under USB we can create as the node also, and then let them to go to the our USB and running the web server down there and drop everything basically, except we know that the packet was come in the right way. So my question is, what do you think about the approach? Is it possible for us to build like a simple USB drive and then distribute to others? I know from Pak Onno that there needs some good literacy, good understanding from the human resources. But once we develop that, maybe only 5 minutes time, they clean up their server, plug it, then should be fix it quickly. That's my opinion at the moment. So what is your opinion, Pak Onno or Pak Antonio, based on that approach? Thank you.
Okay. I think that the USB can be a very good solution. Indeed, we have this approach together with the cyber resilience. The problem is the cost, it's not cost effective if you want to deploy USB to everybody. However, there is an intermediate solution, because today the problem is that if you use the browser and you go everywhere, it's too wide. We should consider the approach already in use on the applications on the mobile. Many services that are available on public web server like LinkedIn, even Facebook, etc., on the mobile, they use native applications. The native application is very powerful because if you install a native application for this government service on your computer and you don't use the browser, the native application can already include this client-to-client topology. So actually, you don't need to expose on the internet the web server anymore. So, and if you don't expose the web server, nobody can attack. But of course, it's a change of mindset. Either you force the user to install a cyber resilient agent on the computer, or you just deliver an application like on the mobile phone. And within the application, you already are applying the client-to-client topology. When you apply client-to-client topology in the application, for the user it's transparent, so the user cannot be wrong. The user is not required to do any action, anything, okay? And the client-to-client allows your website, so the backend, not to be attacked, not because you don't have vulnerabilities. Your website can be plenty of vulnerabilities, but if you are adopting client-to-client, you close all the ports and even OIP, static IP address, nobody can exploit your vulnerabilities. Finished. So this is an approach that on the mobile is already in place. So that's the reason why you have a LinkedIn application and nobody is using LinkedIn on the website, etc. And you will be surprised that some native applications on the mobile are already using client-to-client topology. Not all of them, some of them, especially government, okay? Because in this case, you don't expose the backend into the internet, although you are exposing to all the users, okay? It's different. This is one idea. Then, of course, the hardware token can be also a big improvement for specific users. Let's say when you have critical people, administrative people, or very important people, VIP, VVIP, etc. This can be something extra. Okay. Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
that's an idea.
Yeah, thanks.
Actually, I have a question for Dr. Antonio. Is it okay?
Sure. We are here to. This is a table, okay, a discussion table. We are here to exchange. I'm learning a lot from this session, so thank you. I'm really learning a lot.
Client to client is interesting approach. What I have in mind, the other approach, if we can have store and forward approach, so it's not direct connecting to the server. We can have store and forward using the chat platform, maybe similar to WhatsApp. It's basically store and forward.
Yes.
And then we can have microservice on top of that. Is it considered client to client, or it's store and forward?
Yes, because WhatsApp, when you say store and forward, you are sending your packet to the broker, that in this case is WhatsApp, and then the broker is sending back the packet to the other side.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's the same approach.
Same approach. Okay.
I wouldn't. Yeah, but the store and forward is just a little bit misleading, but in terms of wording, because when you forward, you expect that the destination is opening a port. But when you forward in a client-to-client topology, your forward is not a direct connection. It's just a reply to something that was already initiated by the destination client. So when you forward, you don't expect to have a server with open ports. So client-to-client is a little bit more clear because you define that on the other side there is a destination client. But store and forward, you may think that on the other side there is a server, so you didn't solve the problem. Okay.
Right.
So this is, but the concept is the same. So it's really the same. We are perfectly aligned.
Okay, thank you. My mindset always store and forward. So now I have a different. Okay, final. Thank you.
Just different wording.
Okay, thank you. So we are the same mindset then.
There's a question. I think someone raised your hand.
Yeah, Pak Hanif too.
Yes, thanks for looking at the discussion between the expert of computer science, but I was looking here as someone in the generation that still working with the black screen or terminal to finish our discussion or to finish our assignment when we are in university. But nowadays computers become so beautiful, let's say, in the sense that some of the graduates from the computer science related degree might never open the terminal or everything. There was a case that they use IDE before knowing that IDE, let's say VS Code, contains several different services connected together. So if, let's say, most of the student here doesn't understand what is the discussion between Prof. Teddy, Dr. Ono, and Dr. Antonio, what do you think the best suggestion to tell them that, okay, this is your curriculum in the degree, but this is some extra skills that you might need to learn within your degree? Thank you.
Very brutal questions.
This common problem, but
this is very interesting. I don't know, Prof. Teddy, if you want, I can share my experience in Europe.
Yes,
because
please.
everywhere there is the same problem. All universities, all polytechnics, etc. So we started a battle. We started fighting 6-7 years ago to introduce in the programs, in the syllabus, some low-level module. I'm electronic engineer, so I'm even too much paranoid because I would like that people know how the CPU works. Because if you know the foundation, then you understand everything. So then you can also program Java or even higher level, Ruby or Rust or whatever. But if you don't know how the processor is working, it's a problem. But this is too much, I understand. So you cannot introduce a microelectronic or an electronic or a course in the syllabus. But however, the low level, the foundations, so the low level programming, at least to know how things work, it's important, because otherwise you will never know how to protect something, because you don't know how that something works. So at least at the networking level, basic level, to know how TCP packets works, how they are processed by the kernel or by any entity, how the TCP stack, IP TCP stack works. So this low level is important. And even at programming level, I know that today you can define variables without specify the type, etc., especially if you work on high level. But a segmentation fault, it's a concept that you can understand only if you have some skill on how things work on the low level, outside the memory boundary, etc., etc. So still, even if you use Python or Rust programming language, it's important to know how this data is processed in the memory. at least at the macro blocks. So how the data is in the memory, the process, etc. This is important because otherwise we will miss a very good foundation. And you can build a very huge castle, but if the castle is built on top of sand, the sand is very weak. Okay, so a big fortress can fall down in a very easy way. So I think that this is the way. So to add some basics, some foundations. Okay.
Onno, please, Onno.
I am quite dictatorship in this manner in my university, but I agree with Dr. Anthony actually. So when I teach, as you show in my presentation, that's the way I teach. I'm not using PowerPoint. I do practical things, and you can see exactly. I'm not using black screen. I use white screen. I change the background color into white. So because of that, it actually forced my student to know command line and terminal. So I agree with Dr. Antonio, but the way I do it, I do by example for them. So it forces the student to follow my example. Otherwise, they will not pass my class. That's it.
Good, very good.
Yeah, if I may add also from that point, Pak Hanif, for all fashion like us, we play with, for example, the editor, the one of the best editor and the first editor in the world. I think everybody knows VI, right?
VI,
so,
yeah.
Nowadays, the new generation, I don't think they play around with the VI. They don't know how to use escape, for example, between instruction and typing and so on. So that one very, very important. And we know that in every single Linux machine, they always VI always there. So my point is the basic stuff should be there. That's number one. Number two, we need to cope with others' conversation. I think we need to create some kind of generative AI, like chat dialogue, for example, which is directly feeding something. If the expert talking together, they're going to absorb that, see the context, and then if we can have some small windows there using the type of generative AI, then if I don't understand something when they discuss something, they just put quick keyword and they can get the explanation for them. So using the approach, they can follow the discussion that they have. So two things that I just mentioned just now. Number one is the basic stuff that should be there in the new generation. And the second one is when we're talking about the context in the field that new from them. So they can follow directly if we can generate the kind of I call that chat dialogue. Not chat GPT, everyone. Chat GPT quite big, I know. But there's another thing like Llama and so on. We develop that kind of stuff also in our lab. So I think that's my response for this thing. So, but by the way, Dr. Desinta, I think time is a little bit running out. We still have a halfway to go.
The discussion is also significant, so I just keep silent and from all of you. Okay, actually we have one student writing comments and little bit question also at the chat from Mr. Hari Amari. My connection is unstable, so I write again to Pak Onno. If we build central identity provider of SSO for all Indonesian citizens, is it possible? With benefit like course like this identity can access JKN, citizenship, immigration, etc. In other hand, we can enforce policy to citizen access in some way or another. So this is Pak Onno. And to Mr. Anthony, it's interesting to see technological implementation. In my company, we still implement WireGuard, which deploy on cloud and user. We plan Gajen. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Still, it is open at least port 518XXX. Maybe just a little bit comment. Maybe Pak Onno would like to respond.
Okay, quick comment first. I'm very skeptical person, to be honest. If the Indonesian government, the current capacity of the Indonesian government still like today, I'm skeptical. But if they can increase their capacity, the ability to protect, because this is very dangerous. This is about citizen privacy and authentication and so on. So if they can increase that, hopefully we can adopt Dr. Anthony approach and so on. Then I may be my answer may be yes, but the current condition my answer is no. Sorry, I don't know. Maybe Professor Teddy have different answer, but my current question I answer is no. Thank you.
I in line with you, by the way, Parno.
It's
Sorry.
immediate drop.
Still silent, Bu, Sinta.
Okay, sorry. Okay, to end this Q&A session, thank you very much to both speakers and also Prof. Teddy and also the students and the audience who have contributed to the discussion. So the next agenda is the certificate delivery to the participants. Maybe the organizer, Ms. Rizkia, to show the highlight to the certificate to all